Hey,
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you, love?
I am great on this, busy Friday, but we are here.
Yes.
All right. Welcome everybody. I am Yaladria Drummond, and I am a graduate of Southern University Law Center. I am also for here for HBCU Media. I am the ops director in some sort, multiple things, multiple facets for HBCU Media. So welcome to our final day of the HBCU Media HBCU Get Money Tour, where all week we've been having discussions about equity for HBCUs at a large scale across multiple industries. We want to shout out to our sponsor, PayBaby, for their commitment to circulate money back into the Black and Brown community. Also, to show their commitment to the Black communities, they've agreed to donate 1% of fundraised money fundraised during their crowdfunding campaign in the form of 10 HBCU scholarships. So this is pretty dope. We're excited about that. Today we have Miss Brittany Green here, and she's going to be discussing a lot of ways why credit is so important in this space and during this time. So I'll let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit more about herself.
Yes, so my name is Brittany Green, and I am the CEO and founder of Crown Financials, where I help to educate my students on how to increase their credit score anywhere from 50 to 300 points without having to use the traditional credit repair companies. I originally started my journey back in 2017 because I was denied for a promotion. And as y'all know, we go to school, we get our college degree or degrees in some cases. We get these internships. We try to make ourselves as marketable as possible. So to be turned away based on your actual credit, and at the time I was with a financial firm, right? I don't know how many other firms do this, but just the simple fact that, this is where I am and I'm looking to scale and go up. And I was told no, right? So I started my own journey and to help folks that look like me, especially in the college market, on how they can transition into adulthood with not just the degrees, not just the internships and the who you knows, but also making sure that that 3-digit number that they have is going to be what needs to be seen in order to be approved for positions, homes, equity, inclusion, all the different things that we want. Because a lot of us are into investing now, right? A lot of us are into getting into real estate, but we need certain things in place to look good on paper. So I help my folks get that.
That's awesome. That's crazy that you say that. A lot of people don't think about how much credit affects them in several ways. Even like taking the bar exam in certain states, they check your credit. And
Wow.
that's yeah, like in Louisiana, if you want to take the Louisiana bar exam, that's something that they check. And if you have things that are on there or things that are affecting it to make it substantially low, that affects if
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be able to even sit for the exam at all. So it is a big deal, especially, for people like us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in what ways does Crown Financials truly help students? Like, could you give us a little bit more of a breakdown of specifics?
Yeah, so I have two educational programs. I believe in, of course, well, I started off just helping my everyday adults who were outside of, who already graduated, right? Folks that were like, hey, I need help with my credit, this, that, and the third. But then I developed a passion for colleges and universities. So I developed two separate programs. So for the average everyday adult who has graduated, they've done what they needed to do, and now they're just trying to get their credit together because they didn't know about it back in the day. I've created an educational platform for them to learn about credit from top to bottom, understanding your score, understanding how to read a report, understanding how to increase your credit score, how to maintain it, how to leverage it for like stocks and real estate and different things like that, providing them resources. So that's in my A to Z credit masterclass. So that's for my everyday adult that's already graduated. For my college students, I actually travel to different universities and do workshops. So I have that program is called Project Pre-Rich. I go to their college. I teach them about credit, and I give them resources in regards to building a business and how you can leverage your credit to pay down student loans or invest in your business, how to get business credit, different things like that. So giving them that financial literacy conversation through workshops, and these are typically done online or in person. And then of course I have books for A to Z credit for the adults, and I have Project Pre-Rich for those signature programs. So I have everything pretty much divided into those 2 signature programs, books, courses, workshops, different things like that. So they have that education. That's the major key for me, right? Because you can really do something for someone and send them on their way. But to actually teach them, you teach them how to eat for a lifetime. You teach them how to open their mind and, want to learn more, because I don't know every single thing, right? But if I open the door for you, if I give you as much knowledge as I can, and I give you to my resources, like my folks who do passive income, business credit, things like that, you're more invested, right? So just opening those floodgates to give you the education, which is the major thing, because everybody's, doing it for you. I'm going to give you the education. I'm going to teach you.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned resources, and that speaks to things about being very inclusive and such. One thing in the Black community, we lack a lot of access, and we're not included in things which ultimately leaves us out and things like that. So, what is your idea of credit inclusion through like high credit scores, and how that works in your realm?
Yeah, so I told somebody this because I have a lot of folks who get into the industry or just into investing and want to do, have equity, right? And they're like, oh, well, I use cash for everything. And I'm like, listen, cash is losing its value, right? They're looking at those 3 digits. They're looking at the crypto. They're looking to make everything as digitally as possible. So how can you, get on to what it is? How can you get on the train? So I tell people this. I say, listen, having no credit is just as bad as having bad credit. Yep. It's a little bit easier to fix, right? Not having no credit, it's a lot easier to fix, right? I won't say easier, simple, right? Because of course we have to talk about discipline and all these other crazy things, right? But for the most part, it's more simple to build than it is, to repair. So, but it's just as bad if you have absolutely nothing, because again, you want to look good on paper to back that cash. Right? There's certain documentations, like when you have a good credit score, there's certain access to things that you can have. If you don't have the cash readily available, or you need to make an investment right away, and you don't want to have to deposit the funds into your bank account and wait for it to get there and wait for all the transactions. If you have that access to credit, right, you can go ahead and make that transaction and make that investment. That's what I've done, right? I've taken my lines of credit and I've invested it into different programs. I take the same cash that I have and I invest, I put it back into my credit card to make sure that balance is low. So again, being able to have that access to wealth is making it more convenient, right? By you being able to just make a move without having to think twice, right? And then of course, being that we may not like society's rules, right? But we got to learn it. I always want to know what my enemy knows. I always want to know what my enemy knows, because something that I don't, I know how I can get ahead of the game. It's a book that I'm reading, 2 books I'm reading actually, Tax-Free Wealth and The Unfair Advantage. This is something that folks have been doing for years, not of our skin color, right? But this is things that folks have been doing for decades.
Right.
And they're getting ahead and they're leveraging credit to get ahead and help their children build and things like that. It gives us higher leverage to do higher things when we don't have the access to cash readily available. It takes a little bit longer to build up that way. So I think being included in wealth is understanding what the enemy knows, leveraging what the enemy knows, and continuing to build.
Right. So considering, we're dealing with this in spaces, especially with like HBCU. So we're talking about students who really are just now, some of them entering into the area of learning about banking and learning about what credit is. And so, I know you spoke about the importance of all of this, but why specifically is it so important for students to know about this and knowing about like what happens with their credit, how it stands, and how it affects them? I mean, we have like, such as our sponsor Pay Baby here, they're a banking system. This is all new to many people in this space. So with these students, why is that important? And like you said, credit affects like things you do. Sometimes that affects the type of accounts you can have, correct? So this is the opportunity for them to learn about that. So tell us a little bit more, as I stop being long-winded, why it's important for students to know about this. Why does this matter?
So I'm gonna be honest, I don't know one student besides, I know some of them got a plan to move back home, right? Some of them got a plan to move back home. But I know it's a lot of students who are ready to get out there and be on their own. They've enjoyed college. They love the independence of college, not having to check in or, with the parents and things like that. So now they want to be out on their own. Well, to acquire an apartment, to get different, your lights turned on, your cable, whatever it is, they're checking your credit to do so, right? And it's better when you know and you have an education. And that's why I say this. I think that a lot of conversations are important for parents to have with children, or for them to learn before they get into adulthood, because if you send them out there blindly, it's easier for them to just mess up, right? Because it's like, oh, I got this free money. Like, I'm thinking about when I was in college. They gave me, and listen, don't laugh at me, but you can laugh if you want to. I signed up for my first credit card because they were offering me free pizza as a broke college student. And I see free pizza. All I got to do is sign the dotted line. Guess who's going to do it, right? But I didn't know about credit that much. My mom didn't want to talk about credit. All she told me was, hey, don't get credit cards. They're the devil. And I'm like, well, I can't avoid it because it's a part of life. Right. So if you want to be independent, if you want your own home, if you want to have a business, if you want to be able to invest, if you want to be able to live a life of financial freedom, which I know so many of our students now want to, because they're leaving these 9-to-5 jobs, no notice. They're not staying in that time frame of over 40 years time frame. So it's like having this education is going to allow you to move as freely as you want to move, because it's more so the knowledge, not just the 3-digit number, right? It's more so the knowledge to be able to come back and combat everything, right? So I think it's more so important, again, education for independency. And so that if anything in life does happen, you're not trying to carry your mistakes from when you were 18, 19 years old. You already have a plan of what to do. So it's more so just kind of setting you up for success, because honestly, the way the society is set up is setting you up for failure right away, literally right away.
Right. No, that's awesome. I think bringing this to HBCUs and students is really important.
Mm-hmm.
What is your take? Like, how do you feel about people such as, like, our sponsors here, Pay Baby, who are committing themselves to giving, a portion of things that they raise to give back into these HBCUs and stuff like that? How important is it for systems like that to do that? And I know you've created stuff and you're pouring back, but how important to you do you think that is for outsiders, who may not look like us, to pour back in, especially in spaces like of banking and financial things that are things that affect our equity going forward? How important do you think that is?
Super important. It's super important. That's why I bank so much on education, so that because you got to think about it. If we're being real, a lot of us are the only ones that are pouring back into it. Like, yeah, they have these programs and things like that, and I'm so grateful for them. However, they're not reaching all of the masses.
Right.
So a lot of times it falls on us saving our own tails every single time. So if we build ourselves up, we make it easier for us, like our people, to pour back into these communities or back into our schools, because it is too crucial. I don't care if it's free workshops. I don't care what it is. We need that. Like, we need that, because we're building up the next set of leaders. And instead of giving them everything we didn't have, teach them everything we didn't know. Because we didn't know stuff. And instead of complaining about it, right? Because it's so easy to complain because it just feels good to just get it out, right? But how can we not make that an empty complaint? How can we make that a solution? So I think it is extremely important. Probably top tier.
Okay. Disregard, there is a trash person outside that will make noise at the exact time.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I mean, to be respectful. However, just even taking that a step further, if you had to make an ask of outside people in the financial space, or those who are amongst your space in the credit space, when you're talking about giving back to HBCUs, what other ask would you make of them in the future, so that, just for people such as Pay Baby, who think of like different things they want to do as they're pouring back into the community, like future thought, and also partners and colleagues that they may have that will expand that access and resources for HBCUs, what ask would you have as somebody who is looking on the outside in? Or
Well, I think I've seen the most thing that has been the issues with our HBCUs has been funding, right? So as much money as we can to put into that. And then, of course, educational resources, and not just educational resources from the bank, because the banks are going to tell you what's beneficial to them. To be honest, they're not going to give you the nitty gritty, right? So finding other folks who are very passionate about their knowledge and very passionate about serving sponsoring workshops for them, to, bringing them out to teach at the different universities, doing like the college education tours, college financial education tours. Because when I was in college, we didn't have that. I didn't go to a HBCU, but I had friends who did, and it was the same thing at where I went and where they went. There was none of those resources there. So probably bringing some of those special folks out to give those presentations, as well as funding to keep everything, at the school running. And because I think it was a huge issue where a lot of HBCUs or just schools in general were kind of having to step back because they couldn't fund things the way they needed to. So I would definitely say funding, and then actual people who serve, not just the banks, but people who serve and that are ready to bring the education to the school. So I would say like taking advantage of, this might not be for someone supporting, but for schools to take advantage of some of those government programs that give you money, or just programs in general that give you money for you to be able to bring in those, those folks who do workshops and teach about financial literacy, education, passive income, all those different things, bringing them into campus. So that's what I would say as far as that extra step.
Right. And I was just about to ask that as far as like what could the HBCUs on the flip side be looking for in making choices to bring those type of resources in, or bringing those workshops in, like what other things are necessary. I think you pretty much, answered that. And it is important to bring outside resources such as yourself. Everybody isn't going to be a huge, corporation or entity that would have that type of possibly maybe the funds to do something like that, but they do have the knowledge and the resource that is going to bring in more funding.
And they can be sponsored. Like I said, they have those programs out there that will literally fund schools and are like, okay, here, use this to bring in small businesses, or use this. I want to say, is it CDE or something like? No. Let me not lie. I'll try to figure it out and I'll send it over to you guys. But it's different programs like that will, give funding allocated specifically to bringing in small businesses who are teaching and workshops and things like that, so that they can be a resource and serve those students.
Right. So I don't know for you, if you have done any partnerships with other bigger entities in the financial space that you regularly give information to, or inform or educate them on ways to I guess educate our people of, color, HBCUs in general. But if I don't know if maybe you can answer that to see, have you partnered with that? And if not, when you're looking for a partnership, how important do you think it is that they bring a person of color in advising on how to approach people at HBCUs, but not only HBCUs, just people of color, specifically Black people in general, overall, in their ways of trying to have efforts of help?
So I've done a few partnerships. HBCU Wall Street, of course, one of my favorites, and then NACA, also known as NACA, but as two organizations out there called NACA, one for homes and then one for actual college students, where it's like an actual college university, like the Campus Activities Board. They will go in search of talent. So I joined their database, and now I get to put out that information to, we do like workshops with them, and the colleges get to choose people as talent to come in and share information. So I've done things like that. And I've done things, of course, with HBCU Wall Street to be able to reach as many as possible. And then because I know how big social media is at this time, just putting it out there until I can land those huge partnerships with folks that'll put me in the, in the right places to be able to impact as much as possible. But it's more so not really being perfect at it, but really just putting yourself out there until you bite.
Right.
I heard visibility trumps ability. I think that's what my coach said. Visibility trumps ability. So as long as you keep putting yourself out there, the right people are going to see you, and those partnerships will develop. But I know they are crucial because no one can work alone. It definitely takes, a tribe to go ahead and bring up the next generation. So I do know that partnerships are super important, and those have been the two that I've had so far to nurture and get in front of those spaces.
Right. And so to, I guess, circle back to the last part of that question, like I said, representation matters. You both know that when people, especially students at HBCUs, when they look out to what they're going to do next, or things that they need to know and what they want to do, they like to look to see for people who look like them,
right,
in doing that. So I mentioned before how important is it to you that people, the partners that people choose in the education and financial services, or when it's expanding their diversity or their equity through financial services, how important is it to find, Black people to be in those positions, or partners or advisors to be able to, I guess, guide their ask when they're trying to actually penetrate a space that they really are not as familiar. How important is that? Because
it's super important. Super crucial. And it's all about alignment. You have to ask and you shall receive. I'm big on manifestation. I'm big on asking for what it is that I want and allowing the resources and, the folks who are assigned to my journey to be met up with, right? So it's about, a lot of us have to get out of that mindset of, I can't find this person. I can't do this. Or I've been looking for that. And that struggle or that lack mindset, and more so jump into that, hey, this is what I need. God, lead them to me. Right? Universe, lead them to me. Whatever it is that someone believes in, that higher power, whatever it is, right? Lead this to me, and align yourself with those partnerships, and make sure that you guys have the same visions and the same goals. Because if you're not equally yoked, that project is not going to go through the way you are looking for it to go through. So when establishing those relationships, it's like, okay, what is your vision? What are your goals? What can you bring to the table? Like I do have a partnership for my adult program that works flawlessly, because we all have the same vision or the same end goal, right? And we established that in the beginning. It was, hey, what are you looking to do? Who are you looking to serve? How are you looking to serve them? Okay, great. Here's how I can funnel them to you. You funnel them back to me for us to go this, that, and the third. And we've been doing this for 2.5 years. Right. So it's like, okay, hey, alignment is everything. And you have to ask for what it is that you want and believe that it's coming, and align yourself accordingly when it does get here. Right. But it's super important, crucial. And not even just with, with our folks as well, right? But making sure that we expand those to different people of color, quote unquote, to be able to, see what they know, what resources they have, and being able to it's a give and take. You can't just take. You have to be able to offer things up, and, and it has to be a partnership, give and take. Right. I'm a firm believer in that. When we're talking about access, I always say that my life goal is to create access for our people and color in general. And access is as big as, I'm not looking for equality, I'm looking for equity, and we think about equity in so many ways, especially in the financial space, but also access by placing people in positions to help guide decisions in bigger operations. Like right now, I work for a big organization, and I am like the special assistant to the president of this organization. Oh, that's right. I believe, being literally the only Black person in leadership, that it is my responsibility to reach down to make sure that I bring from not only my HBCU, but HBCU and just people of color, period, bring them into those spaces. And so I really think that what you're doing and the education that you're providing is going to be crucial, because I can't tell you how many people I know that didn't know about credit, didn't know what it touches, and everywhere that it can affect them in their life. It's even jobs like we're talking about now. So how can people reach you? How can they be a part of these programs that you have? So of course you can reach me on Instagram. I think that's where people mostly reach me at, because of course the age of social media, right? Everybody has Instagram. So I am Brittany Green, spelled just like that, but I am at the front. There's no underscores, there's no anything. It's just at I am Brittany Green. You can find me there. Of course, my website. You can find me there as well, because then I have forms in there where you can sign up for a workshop, inquiry, things like that. So that's going to be www.crownedfinancialsllc.com. And then if you follow me on Instagram, you can just hit the link in my bio, and it'll take you directly to the website. And it'll, tell you about the different services and things like that I offer, and how you can get in touch with me about workshops, and how you can actually bring me out to your institution and things like that. Is there anything else you want to share with people? And also, by the way, you must have been the first person to get that Instagram name, because your name, there's probably other Brittany Greens out there. So it is. I had to tag. As long as they put the I am Brittany Green, they're going to find it. It's going to be like a little purple background, a girl with some locks. That's me. That's me. Y'all keep that in mind. Is there anything else that I may have missed that you want to share that you think is especially important, as we're speaking about, equity and credit and everything that you want to share with everyone? Yeah, I want to share my final thoughts of, listen, you do not have to be perfect to get started. You just have to get started to be perfect. So I know a lot of us are like, I'm scared to check my score. I'm scared to do this. I'm scared to, make that first move. But the best things are on the other side of fear, and you don't know what you don't know. So if you continue to remain in ignorance, you can't complain about your current position, right? It's when you make those steps, when you start taking those strides moving forward, that's when you're going to see see everything work in your favor. But you have to, and I mean have to, take a step. You have to step forward.
Well, thank you for that again, guys. We're glad that you were here. Excited to have you and talk about everything. Again, that was Brittany Green with Crown Financials. I'm Euladria Drummond. I am here with HBCU Media, and this is our final day of the HBCU Get Money Tour, where we are discussing equity for HBCUs at large across multiple industries. Again, we want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, PayBaby, for their commitment to circulating, money back into the Black and Brown communities. If you didn't hear it at the beginning, I want to reiterate it again. Something that they're doing that's really great right now is showing their commitment to the Black communities they've agreed to donate 1% of the funds that they've raised during their crowdfunding campaign in form of 10 HBCU scholarships. It's really dope. We're excited about that. And we are happy to be here with you guys, and we will catch you next time. All right, guys. Peace.